Hello and welcome to a Friday Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that SportsGrid network. It includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination and consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. We are here together for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And there is so much to get to. The final 3 days of the NBA regular season. We recap a short slate on a Thursday and set up the finale in the regular season this weekend, as we still have so much to determine in terms of that NBA playoff race, mainly that postseason positioning early on into a Major League Baseball season. And round number one is still underway at Augusta National Golf Club. Rain delayed the start of the 2024 Masters. The guys back on the course already this morning at Augusta to finish off those opening round holes. DRS, it's a great Friday to be here for these next 3 hours.
It absolutely is. And also cashing tickets already with Tiger Woods yesterday. If you took the FanDuel boost there, it was 3 holes to be at least par or better. And he certainly was at -1 after 3 holes. That was a fantastic cash. For myself, cheering on Joaquin Niemann, who had a very good, solid first round here. And also waiting on another ticket for Scottie Scheffler as a top 20 in round number 1, which should be completed shortly. Great Friday here. Huge NBA weekend. Major League Baseball is here. The weather's looking better. It's time to get it on.
It is time to get it on, indeed, and some big college basketball news that I'm sure will lead to a lively debate here on this Friday morning on the early line. But we start at the 2024 Masters, the 88th playing of the Masters tournament, and off to a great start. Your round one leader at this current juncture, and I don't think he's going to be surpassed, Bryson DeChambeau. We welcome in our SportsGrid radio audience here to our opening hour of a Friday Live right here on the grid, Sirius XM, channel 159. All of our radio terrestrial affiliates now in the fold as well. He is Donnie, I am Ben. Bryson DeChambeau, the leader after round number 1, which is still currently underway, but Bryson in front. A 7 under par, 65 in his opening 18 holes. Bryson sits atop the leaderboard at Augusta.
Yeah, he was sensational yesterday, and you thought there was maybe a shot that Scottie Scheffler was going to chase him down on the back nine. That is electric golf playing on opening day here. Now, granted, you had some scoring conditions, as we know being golfers. A little bit of moisture out on the golf course slows the greens down, not because you can make better putts. It's because you can actually go at flag sticks, where this weekend it's going to dry out, makes it a lot harder. So the guys that got out early and shot extremely well, that's going to be a huge bonus for this weekend with guys like DeChambeau and Scheffler.
And because of the rain that we expected, which actually wasn't as bad as first thought, we did have to delay the end of the opening round. So guys like Tiger Woods on the course already at Augusta. I need 2 more birdies or better out of Tiger to cash a big plus money ticket in his final 5 holes. Now, Bryson in front at the moment, 1 in front of Scottie Scheffler. Will have plenty more reaction around the 2024 Masters. Nikolai Hogard at 5 under par has 2 more holes remaining to end out his opening round. Could technically tie Bryson DeChambeau for that opening round lead. Now, some big college basketball news. Nate Oates said no. Dan Hurley said absolutely not. And then yesterday, Scott Drew, as we shared with you, Baylor's head coach decided that he was going to stay in Waco. So reports late last night, the Kentucky Wildcats are hiring former player and current BYU head coach Mark Pope. Mark Pope becomes the new leader of Big Blue Nation.
Here's the tough scene, and I equate it to the NFL draft that's coming up. When your team selects a player where you're not sure and you go, who? It typically never works out. I'm not doubting Mark Pope can't be a great coach, but I'm just telling you right now, if Big Blue Nation was like, good luck, Cal, we can't stand you anymore, be on your way, we're ready for our next superstar head coach, a lot of Big Blue Nations waking up today going like, well, I hope it works out. So talk to me about this, Ben. They're talking themselves into this guy being a great hire. That's a tough situation down there in Kentucky country.
I cannot wait to have this debate. It's not the sexiest hire. I would agree with that. It's not Dan Hurley. It's not Billy Donovan. But it's a really good hire for Kentucky. A guy that won a national championship in Lexington, understands what it takes to succeed at Big Blue Nation. And outside of his history in Lexington, is just a darn good basketball coach. I'll wager anything you would like, DRS, that Mark Pope leads Kentucky to a Sweet 16 before John Calipari leads Arkansas to a Sweet 16. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, though, in the show. A lot to get to here in this 7 in 7. We go around the association. Huge win for New Orleans last night in California's capital against the Sacramento Kings. The Pels with a big victory on the road as a slight underdog. There you see the final score. New Orleans wins by double digits, 135-123. New Orleans has solidified, it seems at the moment, the 6th spot in the Western Conference, a full game in front of the Phoenix Suns.
There's 3 teams I just can't get a grip on here, and they're all in the Western Conference. And 2 of those teams played last night head-to-head, Pelicans, Kings, and also the Suns. I thought, the Kings are at home. Maybe they'll stand up. Absolutely not. I won't be surprised if any one of those 3 teams gets bounced early, like first round early, heading into the playoffs. But that's a nice win for the Pelicans. Can't deny that. I just don't know what's going on with the Kings right now.
The Pels control the fate of the 6th seed again with that full game advantage with only 2 games and 3 days left in this NBA regular season over Phoenix. So Sacramento locked into a play-in spot, as is Golden State. But a lot to figure out in terms of who is playing who and where that play-in tournament game in the Western Conference will be held. The Dubs without Draymond Green nor Klay Thompson last night go into Portland. They were booked as a 13.5-point favorite. They don't cover the number, but they do win comfortably, 100-92. Steph had 5 threes to lead Golden State in scoring with 22. Golden State gets the win, but do not cover.
Yeah, I didn't want to lay the 14. I told you to take that 8.5 in the first half, and that's still lost. A couple of key contributors sitting out, but a walk in the park, basically, for the Warriors as they move on here, hopefully trying to overtake the Lakers. Look, Trailblazers are bad. You went on the road, you got a victory. That's all you can ask for.
Plenty of Around the Association updates to set up the final weekend of this regular season coming your way later in this opening hour. Major League Baseball news. The Royals sweep the Astros in Kansas City in this midweek set. KC has now won 7 straight games. The Royals off to a 9-4 start in this MLB campaign.
Tough scene for Brown yesterday. The starting pitcher yesterday for the Houston Astros didn't even make it out of the first inning, giving up double-digit hits and close to double-digit runs before he was sent to the showers. An easy walk-away winner here, and you're never going to know it. The first place Royals and the last place Astros might have to get used to that. Wow.
13-3. We'll recap what went down in Kaufman a little bit later on. Some more Major League Baseball news. Jordan Montgomery, who signed late this offseason because he was a Scott Boras client, dropped Scott Boras, who a lot of people thought held up some free agency and that hot stove this winter.
Yeah, it's great news here. If everybody dumps Scott Boras, Major League Baseball will be better off because of that. I love the fact that he held his players out and it didn't work this time around, and players are getting upset by that. Good for the Major League Baseball Players Union if they decide to kick Boras to the curb.
And some new news in terms of the criminal complaint against Shohei Ohtani's former interpreter, Ippei Mizuhara. The feds saying that Mizuhara stole $16 million from Shohei Ohtani for his illegal bets. Talk about that later on. Golf, next.
If you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals, saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big, big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The opening round continues despite it being a Friday morning at Augusta National Golf Club in Augusta, Georgia. The 88th playing of the Masters here in 2024. We recap what we saw in the opening 18 holes for some of the best in golf, with the rest of the field finishing off their opening 18 holes on this morning, including one known as Eldrick. That would be Tiger Woods. On the course, did bogey his opening hole of this first round Friday. Here to start things off, he's got 5 more, at least where he finished last night, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Tiger did make bogey on his opening hole of this day. That would be the 14th. He is now back to even par. I've got the Masters up live right here. I'm sweating out a bet. I need 2 more birdies from the Big Cat. But if you want live play-by-play coverage of what we are seeing at the 2024 Masters, Sirius XM is the only place on radio to hear golf's most prestigious event, the Masters. Hear shot-by-shot coverage of the Masters live from Augusta National Golf Club on Masters Radio. That's Sirius XM Channel 92. Sirius XM 92 in the car and on the all-new Sirius XM app. So for most of the field, they have completed round number 1. We will try to get in as many holes as we can today in round number 2. And off to the start for his lead, that's Bryson DeChambeau. 7 under par yesterday, DRS, a 65 in his opening round at Augusta.
Yeah, he was absolutely tremendous yesterday. It's one of those guys that, I was sort of fiddling around because his odds were so long to start the tournament. If you use some of those boosts out there, you're looking at saying like, wow, that is incredible payday. But then you try to say to yourself, well, does this golf course really fit Bryson DeChambeau to a tee? Which means he's so long off the tee, he only cares about that. But again, when you're looking at the Masters, it's about ball placement and where you're going to hit your second shots and your approaches into the greens. He was sensational yesterday across the board. And as we started off the show talking about the Masters, it's very important that when the conditions are there to score, that you actually go very low, because that can buoy you on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or let's just say you're 3 shots ahead of a guy that's playing well, but he didn't get off to that great start here, and those conditions get harder and harder. It'll be very interesting to see what he does on day number 2, because what we're anticipating is not another guy to go 7 under today when the conditions might be a little bit tougher than what we saw yesterday, with the greens being a little bit soaked here, so you can get close to the pin at that point. I want to see how he does today overall, but thoroughly impressed yesterday. I didn't see that coming as a first-round leader for him.
Part of the conversation about the weather that we had in the forecast was the rain that we expected early on Thursday, delaying the start. But we thought maybe we'd start at 1 or 2 p.m. Eastern yesterday at Augusta. We got going at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. So not nearly as much of a downpour as they expected at the Masters. But because of the soft greens earlier in the day, as the wind was not whipping quite like we saw late in the afternoon into the early evening hours, it was better scoring conditions. Bryson DeChambeau takes advantage. You want to know my number one thought yesterday, DRS, watching the opening round at Augusta? Why did I simply not bet Scotty Scheffler? Why did I not bet the best golfer in the world? And at this moment, it is not even close. Because we knew he was going to be there. We knew the 4-1 price, which was half the field and then some for every other golfer, all 88 of them behind Scotty Scheffler at this 2024 Masters. We knew it was a ridiculous price. We made the comparisons to Connecticut, but UConn won a second consecutive national championship. That was my number one thought. Why did I not take my boost on Scotty Scheffler and just bet him to win it outright? Because I knew the ticket would be in consideration well into Saturday and, of course, more than likely into Sunday as well.
Yeah, and I believe it was on 12 where he had that chip in from the sand. It's like, oh, boy, he's going to kick it in the high gear. And he certainly did at that point, because you wake up this morning and you say to yourself, when is the time I should jump in? Because we had these several conversations about UConn, you're right, where they're winning a game, they're winning another game, they're winning another game. Well, if I didn't take it at plus 350, I'm certainly not taking it at plus 180. And then it's plus 135. Then it's minus money for Connecticut to win. And you knew they were the best team, but you still did not want to push the trigger to bet them. Well, this morning when you wake up, when you said 4-1 or plus 450 was not a great price. Scotty Scheffler's not even in first place in the Masters. He's a plus 135 as you wake up this morning on the FanDuel Sportsbook. So again, you enter that conversation watching what you did yesterday. He's the best golfer in the world. You know he's going to be there late on Sunday. It's still plus money. Why don't you jump in now? And then you wait to the end of the day, and Scotty Scheffler's in first place, and he's a minus 100, let's say a minus 130, then to win the Masters, and you rinse and repeat and say, well, that price isn't very good. I'm not going to take that. Then it goes to minus 330, minus 400, minus 1,000. You get the picture, guys. If you want Scheffler right now, he's still plus money. Go out and take him. Don't be disappointed.
I probably am going to do just that. Scotty tees off in his second round later this afternoon around 1:48 p.m. Eastern time alongside Rory McIlroy. To Donnie's point, Scotty Scheffler is one back of Bryson DeChambeau and yet still has seen his very short pre-tournament number become even shorter by over $2.50 from 4-1 pre-tournament to currently plus 140. He remains the favorite. Bryson DeChambeau's number plus 550. He was 35-1 before this tournament got underway. Interesting movement against Rory McIlroy. He has been disastrous to start the last few years at Augusta. He is looking to round out the career Grand Slam. He has never won a green jacket. 1 under par, pretty steady opening round yesterday, and yet we have seen $8 added on to his price. I think there's value there as well at 18-1 for Rory.
There's a long way to go. That's what we have to remember. And the one thing that also always creeps into it, there's not like a limit on the hole, Ben. Like, well, you can only bogey, so how many shots can you make up? We've seen it in the past. I mean, you dump one in the drink, double and triple bogey, you stumble right back to the field. And we're not saying that Scotty Scheffler or Bryson DeChambeau are going to do that, but that's the great thing about golf. There's no limit to how well you can score and also how well you can double and triple bogey holes. So if you're looking for value and you liked Rory to start the tournament, he wasn't bad opening day, and there's still 3 rounds to go at this point, and a lot of things can change. It seems like a great price. It's almost the opposite of you saying, like, look, you wanted Scheffler, now the price is ridiculous. Well, if you wanted Rory, it's probably even more enticing to get in on day 2, knowing how long a tournament this is and how much pressure comes on the weekend.
Yeah, it's a really good point as well. Reigning green jacket winner, that would be John Rahm. Not a good back 9, 3 over par 39. Bogeyed both 17 and 18, his closing 2 holes yesterday. He's 1 over after his opening 18 holes. His 11-1 price, third best pre-tournament, now 60-1. Max Homa on the course right now, playing alongside the big cat, that is Tiger Woods, 4 under par. He now has a 12-1 number, live outright, third best, now 14-1 as these odds continue to adjust. Joaquin Niemann, a good start as well, DRS. He is 30-1 at this moment. Now, the Tiger Woods conversation. Cash that promo, Donnie right side. 1 under par in his opening 3 holes. He birdied his opening hole at Augusta. Or maybe, did he birdie 1? Yeah, right?
He birdied 1,
yesterday.
My handicap was, can you just par the first hole, because the second hole here is the par 5, and he did the opposite yesterday. Gets out with the birdie on a tough hole to start here, and then he actually parred the second hole. But once he got that birdie, you knew you were in shape there. That was a great bet yesterday because you knew you'd get the best of Tiger right out of the gate. I actually thought you were saying that you were cashing a ticket here because Tiger went back-to-back birdies here in his round number one. So we're still cheering that one on to see if it happens. But some time for him to go, and let's see if he can cash in. But Tiger, hey, did everybody well yesterday on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I'm pretty sure a lot of people took that, and they paid out well at the FanDuel Sportsbook.
We got it live right here as we are looking at things. And again, that live play-by-play, shot-by-shot cover. I know, come on. It's like bracket central here live.
Yeah.
A good drive, though, for Tiger Woods on the 15th hole. That's a par 5, the final of the 4 that we see at Augusta. You got to take advantage if you want to go low on those par 5s, as Tiger has throughout his career. This is 26th start in his Masters tournament history. He is looking to make his 24th consecutive cut. That would be an all-time record at the Masters. 1 under through his first 13 holes yesterday. Did bogey 14, his first hole of this second day of his first round. 90-1 to win his green jacket. That would be number 6 in his career. Plenty more updates coming around the Masters. We'll tell you how Tiger Woods is performing on this Friday. But now around Major League Baseball. Up next.
If you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your final 4 parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Friday on the early line on SportsGrid. I am Ben Stevens. He is Donnie Rightside. Not a ton of action yesterday in Major League Baseball and even a shortened slate because of a postponement in Cincinnati. Only 5 games. But we've got to talk about one of them. And boy, was it a big one in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. The Royals get up all over the Houston Astros. They win outright as a home underdog to complete the sweep in this homestand in this midweek series against Houston. Plus 120 as your pregame money line underdog. Kansas City wins 13-3. The Royals DRS scored 9 runs in the bottom of the first. Kansas City now is a 9-4 baseball team who has won 7 consecutive games, and after dropping their first 2 of the year, they have won 9 of their previous 11. Craig Mish told us before this year got underway, bet Kansas City over 73.5 wins. And listen, there is a long way to go in this Major League Baseball season, but I am loving what I see out of KC at this moment.
Pay a guy a lot of money and see what he does as a young player. That's Bobby Witt Jr. yesterday. You want to see 13 runs on the board? You want to make sure your young superstar was involved. How about this, Ben? 4 of 5 yesterday, 2 bombs, 5 RBI, and now hitting .358 on the young season here. That looks like a superstar that's going to be around Kansas City for quite some time. But let's also take a look at Hunter Brown, who's thought to be one of the aces on the staff for the Houston Astros.
Right.
Didn't have a great season last year, opened up a little bit rough, and then you have one of the single worst pitching performances in the 100-plus years of Major League Baseball. 2/3 of an inning pitched here. 11 hits, 9 earned runs, didn't strike anybody out and throw in a walk here. He didn't even survive at this point. And watching it live on Moneyline yesterday, like, come on, man, 7-8 runs. They're going to pull this guy. Nope. Oop, another base hit, another run. They got to pull him next. Nope, another base hit. So it looks like they were just trying to get him out of that inning to survive, and he wasn't able to do that. That's the Kansas City Royals at 9-4 on the season, throwing heavyweight haymakers at the Houston Astros, who coming into the season, let's keep in mind, guys, the American League's most favored team here to win the pennant. They're 4-10 to start. That's rough.
They are 4-10. They have a worse record than the Oakland Athletics, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But to your point, DRS, the more than $230 million man on his 11-year deal, Bobby Witt Jr. has been outstanding this year, literally paying dividends already. Yesterday, as you mentioned, 4 of 5, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, scored 4 runs, and now is batting .358 in the early going of this Major League Baseball season. What a win for Kansas City. Make that 7 straight for the Royals. And yeah, the Astros do have the worst record in the American League West at 4-10 because the Athletics got a win yesterday on the road against the reigning World Series champs in Arlington. Texas closed as a $2 favorite on the money line. The A's win outright, 1-0. Now 5-8 this year for the A's. And on the run line, they are 8-5. Seth Brown solo shot in the second inning. That was the only run by either team on the day as Oakland gets a big upset victory of Texas yesterday on the road.
That's a pretty strong lineup for the Rangers, and you only get 1 hit here, and that's a 1-0 win for the Athletics. JP Sears, just your run-of-the-mill pitcher, goes 6 1/3, 1 hit, no earned runs, 5 Ks, and 3 walks here for the Oak. Look, I think everybody's united in the country right now, right? Because you usually like to say we love the underdogs. Oakland's not an underdog, and it's not the players' fault. It's the ownership group that's making a mockery here. So we probably would like to see them being 1-12 as opposed to 5-8 at this point here, but 4-2 away from home, and quite frankly, they probably just like to play in front of fans here, which is why they're doing so well on the road and probably not so well in their home ballpark out there in Oakland. But that's I'm stunned by this here. I didn't expect a 1-0 victory for the Oakland Athletics, and I didn't expect the Oakland Athletics to be all that competitive early, but yet here we are in April. If you're just shooting the money line here for the Oakland Athletics, you're doing damn well, even though they're only 5-8 right now.
And that run line, again, 8-5. That's what you want to see out of bad teams if you're betting them, at least, on the run line. Can you keep these games competitive? Sure, you're winning outright, but you're losing by a run or less in many spots. Oakland off to a great start from profitability. Texas still the best record in the American League West. What a game it was last night in Boston, in Fenway Park. The Baltimore Orioles pull off the sweep of this midweek set over the Red Sox. In extras, Baltimore scores a ton of runs in the 10th inning yesterday to win a matchup 9-4. We got to extras when the game was 3-3. The O's score 6 runs in the top of the 10th, and the Red Sox score a run in the bottom, but Baltimore gets the sweep in extras in 10. Jackson Holliday, second game of his Major League Baseball career, no hits, 0 for 4, 2 strikeouts, but did score 2 runs. It's the other rookie for Baltimore, Colin Cowser, who goes off yesterday in his game DRS, 3 of 5, 4 RBIs, 2 long balls at Fenway yesterday as Baltimore pulls off the sweep.
I mean, they were absolutely peppering left field there, going over the Green Monster for home runs in Boston. And even on a rainy night, a lot of runs were scored. And it's a tough scene here because if you handicap the game correctly and you said, I like the under here, you had a pretty good cap. You just didn't anticipate 7 runs being scored in the 10th inning. But that's the great part about taking team totals or overs because you have that backboard of extra innings, which you start with a runner on second base and can do a lot of damage. And the damage was done by Baltimore. They're plating 6 runs. And also, yes, Holiday, I need to see this guy get a base hit here just so we can get those good vibes. It's tough because you know the pressure gets ratcheted up. He's going to be a very good player in Major League Baseball. You would have hoped his first game, Ben, right? 2 for 3 at the plate. You get those vibes going. You see it to continue. But now he takes another collar at that point. But also, he's in the 9 hole. He's not supposed to be the savior of the franchise. Everybody else around him in that strong lineup will be able to protect it. They score 9 runs, get a sweep, 8 and 4, and away they go. This is more like the Boston Red Sox we anticipated coming into the season. Not saying, hey, we can contend for first place. No, you're supposed to contend for last place in the AL East.
Yeah, the Red Sox got off to a 7-3 start. They get swept in Fenway. They dropped to 7-6. Baltimore, meanwhile, winners of 3 in a row now. They are 8-4. It was the reigning American League Rookie of the Year who got the scoring started by batting in Jackson Holliday. 2-run shot for Gunnar Henderson. Again, Colin Cowser, a fellow rookie for Baltimore, 2 home runs against Boston. A huge series for Baltimore. This young, fun, and exciting team is living up to the billing here to start off 2024. A lot of runs yesterday as well out of the New York Mets in Atlanta against the Braves. The Mets score 16-4 the victory for the Amazons. The Braves were near $1.80 favorite on that money line. We go over a total of 9. Atlanta now over in 8 of 11 games. Brandon Nimmo, the star yesterday for New York. 2 for 5, 2 RBIs, and 2 runs as the Mets score 16 in a victory over the Braves.
Yeah, we're worried here about Atlanta, not at the plate. They're going to absolutely hammer the baseball. And you just wait till we see that hitting weather down in the Big A when we get those mid-80s and higher, high humidity wind blowing out. That is going to be a pinball machine. But yet we're already seeing 20 runs scored in games down in Atlanta. The question is not going to be, can Atlanta hit their way into the playoffs? The question is going to be, is their pitching going to be good enough to get them to the playoffs and be able to succeed? We're not seeing that right now. I know it's a long season. They still have some good pitchers here. We're waiting on some final news for Strider here. But the things that early returns, the Braves at 7-4. It's crazy that they're even 7-4 right now because their bats are holding up so well. And even yesterday, you had a 7-0 lead for the Mets. Watching this game in the afternoon, you see them plate 3 runs in the 5th, and you go, here come the Atlanta Braves. This game's going to be 7-7 before you know it, and they'll probably get that victory. But good for the New York Mets. After those 3 runs, they capitalized with 5 straight runs themselves. 16 runs for the Mets. Wow, how about that?
Atlanta 7-4 straight up, but just 4-7 on that run line record throughout this year. Now we go to Philadelphia, a battle of the Commonwealth in the state of Pennsylvania. The Phillies hosting the Pittsburgh Pirates, a game we weren't sure was going to be played. Did play as scheduled last night at the bank. And Philly felt pretty good about the long ball themselves. All 5 runs scored yesterday for the Phils, courtesy of the home run. Alec Boehm got us started in the bottom of the 4th. And then Brandon Marsh and Bryson Stott. Yeah, I'm trying to remember his name. Bryson Stott.
Yep.
Correct?
Stotty.
Bryson Stott.
Yeah, Bryson
2 home
Stott.
runs as well in the bottom of the 7th. There's 5 runs for the Phils. They hold off the Pirates for a victory. Philly has now won 2 straight above 500 at 7-6.
Yeah, the line was going down yesterday as the Pittsburgh Pirates were taking on some money here, so you got a pretty cheap price. And Ranger Suarez has been very good this season. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned run yesterday, and 8 strikeouts. The Phillies' starting lineup, from a pitching perspective, has been absolutely sensational. We're just waiting for the hitting to come back and back that starting pitching. And yesterday, it did take some time late here before they played those 4 runs in the 7th inning to put that game away. But good win for the Philadelphia Phillies. And also, Marsh, one of those players that was picked up from the Angels just a few short years ago. He's been really good for the Philadelphia Phillies here, playing a solid center field and also at the plate, 333 now. Like what I see out of the Philadelphia Phillies, who typically struggle early on. They'll take a 7-6 start, included, Ben, losing their first 2 series at home, got a couple series wins on the road, now come back to the bank and pick up a victory against a very game Pirates team.
So Tiger Woods just parred hole number 15, the second par 5 on the back 9 at Augusta National Golf Club. He has made a par on both of those par 5s on the back. That's where a 4+ birdie bet for his opening round goes to die. I hope we can get one on 16 or 17 to give me a thrill. Up 18. Tiger walks to the 16th tee as we speak. Not what we were hoping for, but Tiger Woods still even par in his opening round at this juncture. Again, 3 more holes to finish here in his opening 18 before a quick turnaround begins round number 2 at Augusta National Golf Club on this Friday. Plenty of more updates coming your way from Augusta, but up next, we go around the association. 3 days left in the regular season. We break it down next.
If you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big, big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your final 4 parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Around the association live on this Friday right here on the early line. Last night, the fourth to last day of the NBA regular season. Now only 3 remain. Friday, Saturday, regular season finale, Sunday. Every team around the association now just 2 games remaining in this NBA regular season. So DRS, let's dive through a short 5-game slate on a Thursday night to recap where we stand. 4 of the 5, at least one team that was in the NBA postseason, and 1 game that didn't really matter. But 4 of the 5, dramatic implications for seed lines and playoff positioning. We start in Sacramento. Huge game for both the Kings and the Pelicans. New Orleans trying to hold on and solidify its grasp on the 6th and final spot already in the playoffs, not having to deal with a play-in tournament. Could Sacramento rally as a slight home favorite? No. The Kings closed as a 1-point home favorite at home, just minus 116 on the money line. But the Pels win outright and win big, 135-123. 31 points apiece for both Zion Williamson and C.J. McCollum, who hit 9 triples last night in Sacramento. The Pels get a big win on the road.
They did. And also, we're taking a look at the total in this game, Ben. It sort of caught me a little bit off guard because we're known to see Sacramento play tempo and not play a ton of defense. And let alone we see the final score 135-123. Now, I don't know if the producers in the back or you do know, Ben. Like, are we getting Brandon Ingram back soon here, I believe, for the Pelicans? Is that a possibility? Because the reason I bring that up is if we're going to get games like Zion Williamson, 13 of 21 from the field, 31 points. C.J. McCollum, 11 of 18 from the field, which included, as you said, 9 of 12 from three-point range and 31 points. Murphy gets 27. And then we just had, Joe Frizo and our ER producer say he's coming back this weekend. This is what makes it tough because you want to buy into the Pelicans. Like, they are superstar status across the board. And you get games like this and say, why not the Pelicans? And then you see them lose like 2 out of 3 games at home against teams they should absolutely lay waste to here. So it's interesting. Right. And again, layers upon layers upon layers of intrigue in the Western Conference, and that adds to it here. This is the height of the Pelicans. This is what they can do. They can be a spoiler here, but it's just that trust factor. Do you trust them going into the playoffs? I don't here, but my goodness, the talent is there, Ben.
Absolutely so. And yes, as Frizo just said, B.I. Brandon Ingram expected back for the regular season finale on Sunday. That game featured 258 points. The total worked its way down throughout Thursday to 215. Sacramento had gone under in 14 of its previous 17 games prior to last night. We go way over. The new streak has started for Domantas Sabonis, 18 points, 10 boards. His double-double streak is now once more. De'Aaron Fox, 33 points. But if you are Sacramento, not great ball as of late. The Kings have now dropped 6 of their last 9 games. Not great. Trey Murphy, the third, by the way, for the Pels, also pouring in 6 threes. So New Orleans controls its fate for that 6th and final spot already into the playoffs. They have a game advantage over the Phoenix Suns. Because of the loss, the Kings have clinched, if you want to call it that. Normally clinching is a good thing, but a play-in tournament spot. Sacramento, Golden State, and L.A. all in the play-in tournament. We just have to figure out where in the play-in tournament. In the 7-8 game, on who's home floor, or in the 9-10 game, and where is the venue going to be. So we focus on Golden State up next. On the road yesterday in the Rose City up in Portland, no Draymond Green, no Klay Thompson, really no issue. The Dubs were a 13.5-point, 14-point road favorite, even without Draymond or Klay. They win comfortably by 8, 100-92. They do not cover, but Golden State now has won 9 of its last 10 games at the most important point of this season.
You're right, and that's a championship pedigree. That's a team that knows how to lock in when the games really mean something, like, oh no, we could get knocked out of the playoffs altogether. Let's play our best basketball. That's what we're finding out here from the Golden State Warriors. And yesterday, I thought they would come out a little bit stronger in the first half. They didn't. I didn't think they would cover the 14 for the full game, and they didn't do that either. But they got the victory. No style points needed, because as we take a look at that play-in round that we're looking at coming up, let's just say it is as listed right now, Ben, in the Western Conference. The Phoenix Suns in the 7th seed, Kings in the 8, Warriors in the 9, and the Lakers in the 10. We take a look at teams like the Sacramento Kings and say, yeah, that's great. They're not in the 9 or the 10. But think about what's going to happen with them. A full-go Phoenix Suns team at home is who they're going to play in their quote-unquote opening round here. Let's just say they lose that basketball game. Well, good for them. They're going to have a home game. But you know that home game is going to be against the Lakers and or the Warriors. Championship pedigree to go up against them. It sounds like, okay, at least we avoided 9-10 for the Kings. But my goodness, could that road be even harder than possible? Because you're telling me right now, I don't know what the favorite status is going to be or even what the line is. But I can't imagine, even though Sacramento is at home, they might be an underdog, Ben, in that game for the play-in to solidify the top 8 seeds in the Western Conference. Tough look for them because just to piggyback, the Golden State Warriors opened the season like, I don't know about this. Middle of the season, caught a little bit of fire, dipped back, but now playing their best once you saw the Houston Rockets sort of put a little bit of pressure on them. I like this for the Warriors. I can't wait to see how it plays out, but good luck if you're the Kings. My goodness.
So when you look at the odds right now to make the playoffs, of course, that is winning in the play-in tournament. Golden State to make the playoffs, plus 124. The Lakers, plus 210, because currently it's the 9-10 game. You need 2 wins in the play-in tournament. The Phoenix Suns, minus 1,500. The Kings, plus 106. So 3 of the 4 teams currently Eastern Conference play-in tourney, plus prices to make the overall playoffs, goes to show you a little bit up in the air, still to figure out who's playing who and where exactly those games will be held midway through next week. Golden State finishes against New Orleans and Utah. The Lakers get New Orleans and the Memphis Grizzlies. Sacramento plays the Phoenix Suns to end out this regular season and a matchup against the Portland Trailblazers. So when you look at Golden State, to your point, right, January 15th, Draymond Green returned from suspension. His last game prior to that was December 12th. With Draymond back in the fold, call it more of an implication down this stretch run, but 27-14. They were 3 games below 500 before Draymond returned. NBA caliber, championship winning basketball. We'll see if Golden State can be a playoff team. DRS, if you had to peg the 2 right now out of the 7 through 10, the teams in the play-in tournament, Phoenix, Sacramento, Golden State, LA, who do you think those 2 teams would be into the overall playoffs?
Well, I'll play it out the way it's structured right now. The Phoenix Suns are going to have home court advantage, even if obviously, if the play-in round sticks, they're going to have it in game number 1. If they lose, they're still going to have it in game number 2. So I'm going to put the Phoenix Suns through at that point. But the secondary team that I do think is going to have the advantage, possibly the Golden State Warriors. Why? Because in that 9-10 matchup here, they have home court advantage over the Lakers. So I do believe they would win that game just on being on their home court, and then they would advance to play Sacramento in Sacramento. And as I said, they might even be the favorite in that game. So I'll go with the Phoenix Suns and the Golden State Warriors. They can get into that official top 8 when it's all said and done.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out over the final 3 days, because you might think, all right, play-in tournament teams, whatever. Quality play-in tournament teams out west, not necessarily the case for all 4 in the Eastern Conference, but we do need to figure out where these games are going to be held. That home floor advantage is going to influence those lines and those make playoff numbers. We saw a ton of line movement for last night's game in Boston between the Knicks and the Celtics. Again, the C's are good. They've won 62 games. They've clinched the NBA's best regular season record. Every game they play throughout the postseason will be with home floor advantage. Of course, they'll go on the road, but every series they play in, they will have that home court advantage. When we spoke yesterday, the Knicks were a 2.5-point road favorite. We thought that when it was confirmed that Tatum and or Jaylen Brown would not play, line would balloon in favor of New York. Quite the opposite. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown did play last night for the Boston Celtics, as did Kristaps Porzingis. It was the normal starting 5 for the C's. They closed as a 3-point home favorite. Didn't matter. The New York Knicks blitzed them from the jump, took a really big lead in the third quarter, and then held on despite being outscored by 20 in that fourth and final stanza. The New York Knicks, a big victory, 118-109, outright as a 3.5 point underdog on the road inside TD Garden.
It was pretty wild, right? When you see the fluctuation of the line, because it got as high as a -3 points here for the New York Knicks yesterday in the afternoon at the FanDuel Sportsbook, or should I say right around noontime. And then you see that complete shift over because we were getting an actual starting lineup out of the Celtics and not just, okay, 5 guys go out there, let's see what happens. But also, if you take a look at that final score, Ben, 118-109, that doesn't even tell the tale of the story here because you did get a good performance. Should I say a solid starting lineup and guys playing starter minutes for the Boston Celtics. And if you would have told me, like, okay, Tatum's going to be in, Brown's going to be in, that fourth quarter, what was just the score of that quarter alone? Oh, 38-18, the Celtics. I would have said the Celtics would have won this game by 25-plus points, and maybe the Knicks took the night off here. But the fact that the Knicks were smoking the Celtics on their home court heading into the fourth quarter, boy, the Knicks are such an interesting team right now. And Brunson has been absolutely fantastic, punching that ticket every single night, it seems like, for 30-plus points, and no surprise yesterday going for 39. It's a shame the Knicks aren't going to be full gas once the playoff starts, but they look like a team here that you just can't say, okay, well, we have our starting 5 like the Celtics will easily beat this Knicks team. They're really showing up in spades, man. The heart that this team has showed throughout the season, being down so many starters with a skeleton lineup, it feels like on a night-to-night basis, to wind up with 48 wins so far in the season, that's a great job by Tibbs.
The New York Knicks had a 31-point lead in the closing minute of the third quarter. It was because of those reserves that the game looked anything different than just a blowout in favor of New York, who was the road underdog against the Celtics. By the way, your guy, Peyton Pritchard, 16 points off the bench last night. Don't know what his closing points prop was. Our other guy, Tay, Dante DiVincenzo, 17.5 was the points prop. He finishes with 17. Debilitating stuff. But Jalen Brunson on an absolute heater right now. 35-plus in 5 consecutive games to lead the New York Knicks. And DRS, when you look at it right now, New York in the 3 spot in the Eastern Conference, a game in front of the Cleveland Cavaliers. But it's not so much just being in front of the Cavs for the 3 seed. It's the fact that New York could very likely catch the Milwaukee Bucks, who will not have Giannis in their final 2 games of this regular season. The Bucks play the Thunder tonight. Oklahoma City has all the motivation to still try to stay in the race for that number 1 overall seed. The New York Knicks could end up as the 2 seed when all is said and done by Sunday night.
I love it, man. And for a regular season that's usually rendered meaningless for the past decade in the NBA, this might be the best regular season finish that we've ever seen. Because still, you're going to have Sunday. It's going to be like the last day of the NFL season where, again, you only have 17 games where so many things are up for grabs and seeding purposes here. It's going to be a wild finish, but also keep in mind, if you're looking to make some money and you can see ahead with all these playoff pictures here, Sunday's going to have a lot of chances where one team doesn't need anything and is resting. One team has to move up in seeding. You're going to get some wild swings and lines that you haven't seen for a long time. So hold on to your hats this weekend. We're going to handicap that a little bit later in the show, but it's a great finish for the NBA, no doubt.
It absolutely is a big Friday night that we will break down here in these 3 hours. Chicago on the road yesterday in Detroit. Again, the Bulls are pretty much locked into the 9 spot in the Eastern Conference, but they need to keep winning to have home floor advantage for the play-in tournament. Big game last night out of DeMar DeRozan. He has 39 points. Nikola Vucevic, 27 points and 11 boards. The Bulls win by 22 and cover as an 11-point road favorite in the Motor City. Kentucky has a new college basketball coach, and there will be a debate up next.
If you passed him up as a Heisman Trophy winner and he lights the league on fire like C.J. Stroud over a Bryce Young, you might not make it as a head coach or in your regime here. I just don't think they can pass over Daniels at number 2.
He's sitting at 5.8 goals saved above average. He has been standing on top of his head for this team, but defense has to help him out a little bit. The Red Wings defense comes alive just a bit. I think that they're definitely going to punch their card.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Victor Hovland right now can probably hit it right where he's looking on the range. But the problem is when you get out to a golf course, especially like Augusta National, it's a big, big picture. You can see every shot in the world, but the targets are really, really small.
I feel like whoever we pick is going to win. Like, I feel like we have the power to choose the winner of this tournament.
I know. I'm surprised more guys haven't reached out.
And they might, and they probably will.
Only on SportsGrid.
89-87, 0.6 seconds remaining. Big drama here in this game. Always frustrating when your Final Four parlay and bracket gets busted, but here we go. I'm done.
Look what he is now. He's on FanDuel, plus 120. Almost even money to win the tournament. So you actually, if you did get him at plus 260, you got a pretty good, better investment than you had before. Just saying.
Sports Rage Late Night. Only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Late last night, we got some big news out of Big Blue Nation in college basketball, and it's how we end out this opening hour on a Friday live right here on the early line. A new pope has been selected. Let the white smoke rain above Rupp Arena. Mark Pope is now the new head coach. Not officially reported, but everybody out there is saying the same thing, that Mark Pope is going to be the new head coach of Kentucky men's basketball. Now, there will be further debate on this very idea, but here's what we can say about Mark Pope, the individual. He was a member of the 96 national championship team under Rick Pitino at Kentucky, played in the NBA, and has spent the past 5 seasons as BYU's head coach, where he has had great success with the Cougars. However, he has not won an NCAA tournament game with BYU in either of their 2 appearances in the Big Dance. Is he the sexiest name on the Kentucky big board for the new head coach? No. Do I think it's a good hire and he will have success in Lexington and get the Wildcats back to a Sweet 16 for the first time since 2019? Yes, I do.
By the way, 2 things here on this point with Mark Pope. You know, Hunter Yurachek stole the perfect tweet that Kentucky could have used themselves here with the smoke coming out.
True.
And they picked their coach because obviously it's the Pope. But case number 2 here. I know if you're Kentucky, you're not happy, the fan base, that you got this guy. And quite frankly, they did settle on Pope as opposed to getting their guy. But let's not act like this can't be a good thing. Because I go back to 2017. Do you remember when the Philadelphia Eagles won a world championship? You know, Doug Peterson was like their 7th choice to be head coach. So they settled on Doug Peterson, and it worked out in spades. It can happen. But I know Big Blue Nation was like, hey, look, they probably expect like Pat Riley to come back to Kentucky and be their head coach because they're Kentucky. So we'll see how it works out. He is a very good coach, but I just know that star power that Kentucky thought they were going to get, it just didn't work out. But settling sometimes can still mean big success.
Right, and it's not the star power. It's not Scott Drew. It's not Billy Donovan. It's not Dan Hurley. But it could be successful. We'll talk about this later in our second hour. Hour number 2 starts in less than a minute.